Salutations, fellow alphas. Thank you for taking a moment away from your 4-hour morning routine to watch my long-awaited and highly intellectual Vermintide 2 critique. Don't worry, my kindred grind-set enjoyers, I won't be mad if you minimize this tab and go scrolling Instagram for the duration of my video. Those male-focused accounts like Sigmapreneur and Trillionaire Mentality and Great Bodies Men Bodies _1 deserve your undivided attention, so I'll try to keep things concise and not waste your valuable time. And before you say it, no, I'm not making some contrived play for the manosphere audience. Just ask my doctor. My manospheres are much too enlarged as is.
We are just really happy today to say that we have found our rat czar.
This video is what I have learned about each career in my brief time as an Ubersreich exterminator. Will I join the hordes of creators inventing tier lists out of thin air just so people can argue in the comments? No, I rise above convention. Like the Tate brothers, rise above hundreds of credible human trafficking allegations. I don't court conflict among my subjects. It doesn't matter to me if you prefer Ranger Veteran or Foot Knight. If you're Mormon, Jewish, or a victim of the papist lie, you're welcome here. Instead of a divisive ranking, I will assign each career a Sri Lankan president, and you can decide what the hell that means. The opinions expressed here are mine, and as a free thinker and a free speech absolutist, I will give everyone at least 2 chances to agree with me before I ban their comments. Lastly, the day after I started polishing this turd of a video, Fat Shark decided to update their game with a whole new set of nerfs and trait changes. Currently, Reddit is pissing itself about these changes, but I won't comment since what I talk about here has mainly not been touched. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's get down to brass shafts here, gentlemen.
Markus Kruber.
We don't need outside tenants like rats in our homes.
The Krubster's Mercenary has some of the best survivability of any career in Vermintide 2, so the constant deaths that I experience can be firmly blamed on my teammates. That's okay. Sometimes the real adventure is the friends who you watch beat the level for you. For many, the Mercenary will be the first career you play, and your introduction into the Vermintide community. Don't let that sour your appetite though. Vermintide can be a place where you make lasting friendships with like-minded gentlemen, and then push those men into the loading area because they've been AFK for 10 minutes. The Mercenary's primary goal is to keep the team pressing on with temporary hit points. Aside from that central characteristic, this PTSD-ridden version of Kruber is what you make of it. You can go for elite killing or for horde clearing, depending on which red circles you want to steal from the Kerillian main. The Mercenary was the class that taught me the merits of slow attacking two-handed weapons. While you give up a bit of maneuverability, you quickly grow addicted to the satisfying sound of rat heads evacuating rat bodies, as your executioner sword swipes to and fro. It's almost as good as the feeling of the Great Hammer, which acts as a mobile wave machine, able to move hordes of small enemies back and forth, like a DJ at a rave for children. Speaking of children, don't forget your most important duty, watching the Slayer pick up a grimoire and spending the rest of the match keeping him alive. To me, with all these factors combined, Mercenary is unquestionably a William Gopalawa, 1972 to 1976.
Rat mitigation is more than a quality of life issue. Rats are the symptom of systemic issues.
Huntsman is an extremely fun career for those who love watching someone else clutch the game. No, of course I'm joking. If the Huntsman is involved, nobody's making it out alive. But really, folks, the community has been wondering about Huntsman changes for a while now, and while Fat Shark squeezes the odd rework out every once in a while, Kruber's stealthiest career has maintained its iconic mediocrity. Perhaps the most controversial of his qualities is the risk-reward of his famous career skill. When all looks hopeless, when the hordes of chaos descend upon your friends, when the team looks to you for peak performance, the Huntsman can hit F to run away. Okay, that's the last one. Hating on Huntsman exposes the embarrassing fact that my fast twitch muscles are underdeveloped. You see, the flip side of this dextro-addicted Aragorn is that he has the highest skill ceiling of any other career because of its one-shot, headshot potential. I do applaud the career skill as being one of the few that give you actual breathing room no matter what, breathing room that will allow you to prepare, plot, and strategize a counterattack. Then, pop back into the heat of battle and watch it fall apart before you. For all these reasons, Huntsman is a firm
Ranil Wickramasinghe, thank you so much for joining me right now.
If I control rewind, I would want...
Foot Knight is the career for tanks that don't want to believe they're tanks. It's also my screen name on various Albanian photo boards. With the attack speed and damage bonuses you can put out, you would be forgiven for not going with the shield setup and just plowing your way into any horde or patrol that gets in your way. In higher difficulties, the name of the game is Block Cost Reduction and Stagger Power Bonus, both of which the Foot Guy does with style. The great thing about his career skill is that it serves as one of Vermintide's central IQ tests to see if you'll use it to launch yourself directly off a bridge. I'll save you a few embarrassments. Right-click to cancel that bad boy once you've done the damage you want. See? Huh? Now you're playing like a Cataclysm YouTuber. I, however, will remain at a safe 2-rat distance from my enemies, using the reach of the halberd to kill them before they enter my area code. This is my favorite build so far, shamelessly stolen from an aforementioned Cataclysm YouTuber. I max out my stagger potential and keep the blunderbuss on standby for any plague months that get a little too handsy. And that right there is why anyone who questions why Foot Knight is a Chandraka Kumaratunga 1994 to 2005 simply does not deserve respect.
You'll be seeing a lot of me, and a lot less rats.
The Grail Knight proves that sometimes the most complicated questions have the simplest answers. Why can't my sword alone end the Chaos Menace in the Reichland? Simple. You haven't been praying enough. Just imagine the power that Kruber could ascend to if he devoted himself to a real prophet like Joseph Smith. Instead of meager damage boosts, he could complete a quest and be rewarded with a 14-year-old wife. In direct opposition to the mercenary, the Grail Knight exists to give temporary HP to his own goddamned self. The quests you see on the side of your screen are there to convince your teammates that you offer meaningful support, when in reality, you've built your entire career around making certain the rest of your team never even sees a boss's health bar. Don't let this get to your head though. Often you will play what feels like the best round of your life, only to watch a semi-skilled pyromancer collect every green circle available. Grail Knight is a classic Mahinda Rajapaksha, 2005 to 2015. Long live the UPFA.
Bardin Goreksson.
There we go. Everyone that knows me, they know one thing: I hate rats. You know.
Moving on to the realest MF on the squad, Bardin's Ranger veteran is the Huntsman, for those who prefer their ranged careers have a little more je ne sais quoi. It introduces itself as a sniper, but in reality the Ranger might just operate better with other strategies. For example, emptying your belt of axes for the power boost and then going ham and provolone under cover of your fart cloud. Personally, I think the Ranger should be the second career you unlock with Bardin, because it weakens the masculine spirit to play with ranged focus. Unless you're into that sort of thing. Of course, the classic special sniping and party buffing build for RV is tried and true beyond measure, and offers some wiggle room around the mid-level talents. You're like the little crusty-eyed dog of the team, but you hunt specials and shit out prizes of your choosing. Personally, I think providing beer is canon, but I have to acknowledge the merit of extra potion drops. Just kidding. That was bait. If you nodded, I saw you through your webcam, and Mossad has been notified. Not only is beer the only choice, you must pause in the middle of a horde to drink it. Some of my fellow Bardin appreciators discovered that the Engineer's Masterwork pistol can become a boss-eating Gatling gun in the hands of the Ranger, but personally, I'm above easy wins like that. Give me the good old-fashioned handgun, and I'll completely waste my career skill reloading. By the way, if I see you wearing a beanie in my game, I'm throwing. I think it goes without saying, Junius Richard Jaywarden, 1978 to 1989.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't mind President Reagan.
You know, some of the same folks are criticizing us now called me a murderer because I was killing rats. Well, you know what? We're gonna kill rats.
The Ironbreaker is living proof that the slow, reliable turtle always triumphs over the dim-witted, short-fused, smelly, uncivilized elf. I mean rabbit. Oops, I meant to say rabbit. Some people don't appreciate the breadth of character this small class has, able to match the Foot Knight in protective power and the Slayer in morally questionable tactics. What's that? Did I commit a war crime? Brother, I commit to everything I do. It's hard to truly quantify all the Ironbreaker does for your team. If you find yourself overwhelmed by the boss's continuous onslaught, simply wait until you hear the Short King's call to action. Or watch him fire off the skill way too early and be completely impotent when the actual shit hits the fan. Speaking of firing off, the Ironbreaker's often overlooked flamethrower build shines in tunnel-heavy maps. And to all you Ironbreaker players out there, if you say the overheat was tactical, your team has to believe you. My final piece of advice is not to become entranced by using a shield. While fun, Bardin's blocking talents extend to all weapon classes, and sometimes it pays to have a little more damage on offer. You won't be the star of the show when the red circles come to town, but you'll know deep down that you carried the team on your overly rounded back. Maybe they need to find other ways to appreciate you. This is going to be another William Gopalawa 1972 to 1978 for me, folks, and I think you know why.
Her ceiling collapsed because downstairs in her bedroom, the rats took over her bedroom.
The Slayer is my main, so it's the class I am best at. Am I good at playing Slayer? See, these are two different statements. I power leveled my Bardin to unlock this career as soon as possible because I always wanted to play as Gimli off the Galaxy Gas. Slayer comes in two flavors if you're doing it right. These flavors are two-handed and fun. Listen, I'll give this one to you. The strategy for two-handed took a little bit of frustration for me to learn, but I accept it's pretty good. You have to use your leap skill to land in front of enemies and unleash your Trenbolone rage before stepping back to assess your situation. The strategy for playing one-handed is that there is no strategy. Land directly inside the horde and remain confident, not that you will be able to parry and block their attacks, but that your attack animation is just 4 crucial frames faster than theirs. Sometimes you'll be fine, but other times your blind confidence will result in plague rats, making you into a lightly processed baloney. But that's the huntsman's problem now. As the Slayer, it is your job to get into the shit. That's why it's totally acceptable to call out a patrol just to let your friends know you've already thrown a bomb to engage it. Further communication is not necessary, and indeed is unadvised, given that you've already been asked to protect the Grim better, and your team is about to watch 2 Chaos Warriors go full NYPD on your ass. The Slayer constitutes another, absolutely unequivocal Chandrika Kumaratunga 1994-2005.
You made a call for an emergency, and then it was, we were told that there was no emergency, there never was. So, I mean, would you blame this? Would you say that this was misinformation in a way for everybody?
But that is not many of us. Many of us live in communities where rats think they run the city.
During your time playing Vermintide 2, you may find yourself asking, why am I on fire? Well, let's take stock. When you found yourself on fire, did you hear a deafening blast? Was it followed by 3 more deafening blasts? Well then, friend, you may have an outcast engineer in your party, and that kind of thing only happens to those with a negative karmic balance. Time to reflect on yourself and your choices, because you certainly won't be getting any kills in this game. I've seen strong outcast engineer builds with all kinds of melee weapons, though some are more optimal than others. In reality, most builds should center around how effectively you can use your minigun. With slow wind-up, it can be extremely situational, and because of your undiagnosed ADHD, remembering to Soldier Boy crank off every few seconds can be a real pain. When you play as an engineer, you either solo a patrol of Chaos Warriors, or a single rat slave claims your scalp, because you became fixated on the idea of gunning down a whole rodent generation in record time, instead of, say, ever protecting your supple ass. You will either eat through a boss like last week's Percocet, or hit Q and forget that your fucking troll hammer hasn't reloaded yet. Either way, you can rest assured that even though your team members will complain on Reddit about the experience, they probably wouldn't have survived at all without your bombs. A classic Ranasinghe Primadasa, 1989 to 1993, if I've ever seen one. And I have.
All new 2025 Toyota Sienna.
Everyday employees, I hear it all the time. I'm on the trains, I'm walking the streets. People stop me and say, you know, we're with you, man. We hate those damn rats.
I don't know any Sienna mains myself, but every tournament-level team I've watched employs her indispensable careers in some way. The Battle Wizard remains an S-tier damage dealer while also being able to flee with deadly efficiency when the walls close in. A well-placed flame trail can soften a hallway full of rodents more effectively than even the Foot Knight's D-line charge. More than that, her 40-meter time beats just about anyone else if you double up on that F key. I'm so sorry. For the alphas in my audience, the 40-meter dash is something you do when you get picked for a sports team. Much of Battle Wizard's power exists in damage over time, so it's not your job to stick around and see where your victims end up. Just get yourself to a vantage point and build up that overcharge, sister. Personally, I love a Battle Wizard that makes complete use of the burn mechanic and leaves single stroke damage to your lessers. But that doesn't mean a girl can't go a little sicko mode every now and again. Just make sure your temporary HP skill is correct before you humiliate yourself in front of the hose. She's another Ranasinghe Premadasa, whether you like it or not.
Julia, remember when I came out with that rat device? I had a rat device. We caught 96 rats. There were people that were yelling, oh, you murderer, you murderer,
The pyromancer loves a good sniping staff, is what I would say if I was a trend-addicted sheep waiting in the field for you to come have your way with me. Yes, you can build pyromancer as Sienna's peak ranged career, but as us proud Americans taught those trench-scurrying krauts, the job gets done just fine up close. Max out your ranged attack power and watch these Nurgle butt boys run to complain at The Hague. The beam staff is my absolute favorite addition to Sienna's catalog. The blast attack pairs with your later talents to be an infinite use shotgun for squishy hordes, while the primary beam attack lets you take a quick nap while you wait for Kruber to actually shoot the gas rat. My favorite melee build for Pyro maxes out attack speed and crit chance, wielding a shiv heated over a crack stove for maximum effect. She's quick, she's easy, and she's spamming her flaming skull whenever a plague monk even enters her zip code. The sense that I get from the message boards is that Pyromancer is the best ranged class for Cataclysm difficulty. Is that true? Well, if you reveal yourself as having crunched the numbers to prove me wrong, then you will have revealed yourself to know math. Checkmate, you little weasel. A new addition to our roster, I'll be assigning Pyromancer to Anura Kumara Desanayaka, 2024 to present day.
People say, well, that's not going to solve the problem. Listen, it's many rivers that feed the sea of rats.
Unchained is edgy. She's uncontainable. She follows her own rules. And now, she's exploding because she didn't pay attention to her overcharge bar. If you like using your career skill too early out of fear and still pretending you're good at the game, Unchained may be for you. Like the Huntsman, her skill ceiling is in the stratosphere, with many competitive players able to maintain an absolutely diabolical edging session for an entire match. One day, I'll count myself in their ranks, but for now, I'm inclined to bust. I enjoy the Unchained for her own merits, namely watching the point of my crow build disappear into the helmets of a parade of storm vermin. You would think that this career would make me Google what exactly high overcharge looks like. Is it the high end of orange, or only when I'm in the red? I think we both know that if you wanted exact numbers, you wouldn't have come to this meth den of a YouTube channel. I don't know if Unchained is supposed to be a tank or a DPS class, and I'm too lazy to just type that into Google. Instead, I'll point out that her talent Enfeebling Flames, which lowers the damage dealt by ignited enemies, also applies to enemies ignited by Bardin's flame weapons. Truly, the whole crew is going on trial if they leave any survivors. This one has got to go to Junius Richard Jayawardena, 1978 to 1989.
In 1977, I received 51% of the...
Bloodthirsty is not a word you usually see in a job description, and it's certainly not a word I usually describe myself. But I have to say, the Ratsar ad got my attention.
Few careers in Vermintide 2 can truly wage a two-front offensive. The Necromancer stands out in this regard, being able to keep at bay an oncoming ambush while running a Schlieffen plan against your team's frame rate. I benchmark my game whenever the drivers update by just hitting F in the keep. If I can watch my minions rise without the game stuttering like a Cockney chimney sweep, all good, but more often than not, you'll find me cranking those settings down. Necromancer is my favorite Sienna class. Her staff guarantees that I get that sweet specials killed circle at the end of the match, despite my Biden-esque nerve shakes. The Scythe, with added cleave, builds temp HP like a Saudi prince builds vacant cities, and you will need temporary HP, because you have all the life force of a consumptive Russian peasant. The mistake I see most people make is assuming their skeletons are going to work without their mother's input. Your skull-shaped remote control should be out almost as often as your weapon, even if it sometimes means accidentally chucking a grimoire and getting kicked from the match. These things happen in the heat of passion, my brothers, and I would not shame you if you would not shame me. It's also a true joy to watch your teammates turn in fear when they mistake the comforting grumbles of my skinny legends with the murderous call of a rat slave. Another one for the Chandraka Kumaratunga pile, folks. Read it and rejoice.
So it was total misinformation.
Me want his Saltzpyre.
My introduction to public service came when I was 10 years old, getting signatures for anti-rat measures in my neighborhood.
Beta male boy wives will tell you Witch Hunter Captain offers the highest potential DPS in all of Vermintide. Unfortunately, I'm here to clarify that in order to achieve this, your teammates need to learn to tag enemies. Anyone who's played online co-op games understands that this is where the conversation ends. Most people never rebind their tag button from T, and it's far too much to ask them to reach a feeble, soy-fed digit over to the middle of their keyboard instead of just spamming strong attacks at the mid-swing Chaos Warrior.
I thought I could take him.
That being said, you don't need friends when you put out critical hits like this, though it is a shame not to share some of the best voice lines in the game with a live audience.
By Sigmar and the Hammer, I judge you all!
In fact, Saltzpyre's lines are so good, you might be tempted to roleplay Saltzpyre for an entire game on mic.
Am I crazy or do I see a healing drop down there? By the hammer of Sigma, I'm not crazy! Sorry about that, ladies. Wait. First off, Becky. Second off, you two are bloody crazy, I'll give you that. Rocky above! Lantern up! Shield! Gunley River! Rattling up door! One eye is gone! Chaos Warrior gave me back shots!
Absolute Chad behavior. The cannon loadout has always been rapier and dual pistols for Saltzpyre's first available career, though don't get too attached. All of Saltzpyre's weapons shine if you select the right talents, and you might come to admire other tools. However, if you do go with the classic, make sure to utilize its weapon special. If you're asking yourself, what's a weapon special? Good. You're fit to play on Legend. Between the tagging mechanic and the rapier's free pistol shot, may I recommend purchasing a mouse with side buttons. It's made me an MLG legend within the community, the Hasidic community, that is. All these things put together make it difficult to deny the Witch Hunter Captain a spot on Team
Gotabaya Rajapaksa was Defense Secretary and his brother Mahinda was President when the 26-year-long civil war with Tamil Tiger separatists ended in their defeat 10 years ago.
Pizza rat may live in infamy, but rats and the conditions that support their thriving will no longer be tolerated.
Bounty Hunter used to exist so that you could solo a boss without ever having to get near it. Then they patched that little loophole and gave it to the Grail Knight instead. In my experience, it's just another career where you tell yourself that you are capable of consistent headshots, only to find your marksmanship somewhat diminished, possibly due to that K-hole incident in 9th grade. But who can tell? The pressure is on if you are running the headshot build, but if you don't have the hand-eye coordination of a Renaissance painter, may I suggest a rather modified method. Employ a repeating pistol and max out your ranged power, due to prize bounty. You barely have to worry about ammo, and your reload speed won't consistently have you eating rat spears. The pistol is minimally effective at mid-range, but I'm not suggesting that. The alt fire, which shoots every bullet at once, consumes no ammo at all when prize bounty is active, meaning you get 2 tries at a killing shot, though I bet you'll only need 1. The bounty hunter is also surprisingly survivable if you build it to that end, though hardcore players would prefer to die rather than give up 1 basis point of single shot damage. It's grown on me over the years, so it earns a place with the Unchained. That's right, mark your scorecards, that's another
President J.R. Jayawardena. While celebrating the memory of a leader who brought about the dawn of a golden era for the UNP, today we look at the crisis facing the party.
I will bring a science and systems-based approach with a strong focus on cutting off the food, water, and shelter rats need to survive.
While many Zealot players would have you believe that they are just as reckless and foolhardy as, say, the Slayer, in practice they are often the most careful party members. They take green damage only in a controlled setting, then build temp HP back to normal with idle enemies. Only when they are back at full health with an extra 30% damage will they deign to wade into the fray, and usually at the safe end of a billhook that can stagger even the largest foes. Real gamers like me live on the edge by picking a completely fucking wrong temporary HP skill and spending an entire round in one-shot range, then blaming the wizard for shooting me too much. In the good old days of a few weeks ago, you could apply your heal sharing skill on any class and completely derail a Zealot's build just because you had a bad day at the adult care facility. Fat Shark has done away with all heal sharing skills because apparently they sucked and nobody used them. But if that's justification to get rid of something, I would have been neutered a long time ago. Instead, you can still find these skills on your jewelry, so nothing has changed and nothing ever happens. Unfortunately, the release of Saltzpyre's final career culled the supply of dedicated Zealots, who all realized they'd prefer to do the same amount of damage with half the effort and 100 times the health. It's still one of the greatest, still a legend in its own right, and still a firm William Gopalawa, baby.
I just want to have our congressman say a few words. Congressman.
They live to be about 2 years, but mature within 2 months, mate within 2 seconds, and rat can produce 8 to 10 babies after 6 times a year.
Excellent. Having spent some time away from playing Ironbreaker, I was hoping to find another class that allows me to watch harem anime on my second screen while I stare at the back of a shield for an hour. Warrior Priest barely skirts by the overpowered allegations by being melee only, meaning that a modicum of skill is required if the entire rest of the team is down for the count. Those allegations come right back if you have the right equipment, but because I can't find a red great hammer to save my life, I'm a free man for now. The difficulty with Warrior Priest, if there is any to speak of, comes from deciding who deserves to benefit from Sigmar's light. Will you res your teammates from afar, or selfishly hoard your power so that everyone must rely on your presence? It's Sophie's choice, but for the guys who are still into Deus Vult memes, I jest mostly. Even the best Warrior Priest can still facilitate a complete mission failure when your elf runs in front of your attempted resurrection. The only advice I ever got from a Warrior Priest player was to run the flail and shield alongside the Great Hammer, the latter of which only comes out when you see an enemy that might be able to break through your 11 stamina shields. Do with that what you will. I personally like to see a Warrior Priest with little stank on the build show up in my party, mainly because if they fail to clutch, we all get to pile on. As I'm sure you've guessed, there's no place for Warrior Priest other than...
The left-wing opposition candidate Anura Kumara Dissanayake has won Sri Lanka's first presidential poll since the country defaulted on its international debts 2 years ago. And in his first comments...
Kill Kerillian.
No more dirty curbs or brazen burrowing. There's a new sheriff in town, and with your help, we'll send those rats packing.
While to other players, the Waystalker may be nothing more than a speck dying 50 miles away from the party, playing her will reveal that this character is not altogether different than the Pyromancer. You dodge and dip through combat until you hear the sound of a special or the wail of a plague monk, at which point a rush of adrenaline snaps your finger to your F key at lightning speed, hoping that you aimed at least within 180 degrees of the target. Elf mains get hooked after 1 or 2 hits of the Waystalker and are often beyond help after that. There used to be public institutions that would deal with people like that, but now it falls to the rest of their team to find and revive them when their expert aim fails to save them from the boss and patrol they just aggroed. Waystalker is the career you should use to test all of the elf weapons you can, mainly to find which melee and ranged options synergize together. Her skill tree focuses on pairing your ranged power with melee attacks, while always falling back on those sweet blue arrows. If you plan on maining elf, you need a thick skin and a healthy detachment from Vermintide, because you're definitely going to get blamed for every single loss. Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Enough said.
Meritocracy and technocracy should be promoted.
I had a recent meeting with all the leaders, and one of the top concerns was rats.
Unfortunately, it is important to play Shade while you are still searching for a career that suits you. You can find out whether you enjoy being reduced to half health by a single rat, perfectly countering your 12th sideways dodge. It is an intoxicating gamble, the risk-reward of either landing all your backstabs on the patrol or being reduced to a mince pie because one single Chaos Warrior decided to queue up an overhead. Yes, I admit, the Shade is easily the most reliable single-target melee killer available in the game. Does that mean I will forgive her for killing every Chaos Warrior I need for temporary health? Maybe, with time. Some of you will meet people who play only as the Shade. These are a rare breed of human who usually migrate to MOBAs during their gaming career. Appeasement is the only course of action for someone like this, so do your best to be nice. Otherwise, when you're caught playing a suboptimal build, even complaining that it's literally champion difficulty won't save you from the kick vote. The glue that holds this insufferable community together. Shade gets the
Ranil Wickremesinghe. Prime Minister Wickremesinghe, welcome to Beyond, sir.
My privilege to be with you all.
Rats are smart, they're resilient. If you don't really cut off their food source and go after those who are already there, then you're not going to keep pace.
If you can withstand the urge to constantly dash ahead of your teammates, or kill the handmaid on your team for doing the same, you can learn to love Kerillian's tankiest class. Ideally, your team never has to rely on a dedicated school nurse because you're all unkillable alpha males. Or certainly, all males at least. All the handmaid is expected to do is stay upright and keep an eye on everyone doing the real work, much like the Ironbreaker in that regard, except in the form of a sleek, athletic woman. In other words, disgusting. No doubt you'll discover that the spear and shield are the optimal weapons while you get your bearings, but don't be afraid to get a little creative once you get bored. As long as you can evade rats as well as you can evade the femboy accusations, you won't have a bad time. I especially recommend mixing the handmaid with an outcast engineer or an especially reckless Unchained for a little extra team synergy. That being said, just because you're the surgeon on call doesn't mean your teammates will return the favor. In total, having run the equations several times, my judgment falls that Handmaiden belongs in the prestigious Dingiri Banda Wijatunga slot, 1993 to 1994.
The mayor has made it very clear his stance on rats. He hates rats, I hate rats. Fight them in my neighborhood. We saw significant drops in rat populations.
I have seen the Hedge Gardener pull some of the best moves in Vermintide history, and I have personally made some of the worst plays you can imagine. Placing your wall with efficiency and tactical expertise is the only way to avoid being the heel of the party. Some are afraid to rise to the challenge and opt instead for the staggering vines or a quick push. While this can be fun, it is a dereliction of your duty and a negative karmic wound. Be better. Box in an entire horde so that when your hedge despawns, everyone gets absolutely mauled. When you see danger, instead of activating a skill that deals with it, simply cover it up and keep moving. The same goes for her Deepwood staff. Like the Necromancers, it takes all the aiming out of the equation, but also takes any of the killing out of it too, allowing you to simply place dealing with the Gunrat on pause for now. If there's a perfect way to play Sister of the Thorn, nobody's figured it out yet, and there's no need to watch anyone else's gameplay to fact-check that. However, I must admit that her staff is probably your best option for running a Sister of the Thorn bot, because they never hit overcharge, and they aren't stingy with the lifts. Our final contender, Sister of the Thorn joins the prestigious ranks of... What's this? An upset? Sister of the Thorn is a Maitrapala Sirisena 2015 to 2019. Boy, could this get any less interesting? Anyway, there's your content for this month, you little spum hounds. R.I.P. to the Pope, and long live the new Pope. May he continue the tradition of being an international sex symbol. Go fill up the Vermintide 2 servers when you get a free minute. It's pretty active as is, but more and more I find myself accosted by some pretty undesirable accents.
Watch yourself out!
No, not those.
sure I had another one.
That guy. This has been the B-Man, bringing it around town and keeping it tight.